Hey everyone, what's going on? If you're new to this channel, you really probably won't understand what I am talking about unless you go back and watch some of these previous videos and learn how to apply what I'm talking about on this channel. But on this channel, what I'm talking about is how there are people in this world who understand ancient knowledge practices, and every single day they are using this code and using this knowledge to rule over us. And they script our mainstream media, they script our sports leagues, they script our told history, even, you know, things that you see on TV, such as game shows. And if you followed me for a while, I've made a bunch of these recent videos talking about how there is something super connected to this year because it is a Chinese pig year, and there's all of these interesting synchronicity things that I had and how it syncs up to pig stuff. I don't want to re-explain it all, but I'll leave a bunch of links in the description. But in 2016, I was talking a whole lot about Jeopardy. I made a ton of these videos about Jeopardy and this lady who had cancer and how it was all scripted by the numbers. And I was starting to get a bigger following, and then all of a sudden I just got like completely just censored and wiped out, it seems. And then just after this, Zachary K. Hubbard, who most people should know if they follow my channel, he had a car crash into his house, and they flipped the script. That's what had went on. There was all of these things that were lined up, and then they flipped the script. And then that right after that, we learned reverse gematria. And what gematria is the practice of coding numbers into words and phrases. It it goes back to, ancient knowledge practice of Kabbalah that has a belief that God created the world by merging the letter with the number. And at the time, well, I only knew two ciphers. It was the English ordinal and the English reduced, or Pythagorean gematria. And I had this one guy create a blog mocking my blog, and he started it all because of my Jeopardy posts. And his name equals 166 in gematria. And just after this, my uncle had died, and it was a mysterious car crash that still makes no sense whatsoever. He died like 5 miles off the main highway going in the wrong direction, and there's just lots of things that don't make sense with that. And everything about him was the number 166. It was his name, I believe his name equals 166. Just pointing it out really quick. His name equaled 166. His wife is named Betty, reminding us of the Flintstones that aired 166 episodes. And it's based off of this TV show called The Honeymooners. If you read out Honeymooners, it equals 166. I asked my mom randomly one day what day his birthday was, and it just so happened to be 166 days after his birthday. A bunch of 166, and it was before we knew reverse gematria. And look what reverse gematria ends up being. 166 in gematria. And this is truly important because that James Jumper guy who started this blog and mocking my blog, whose name equals 166, he referred to me as Nad on my blog, on his blog even. Nad, my name in reverse, right? And after all this happened, there was this big revelation, and we figured out all of this stuff, and we figured out this bigger piece to how all of this knowledge works. And what they had done, though, was that they took a bunch of things that were absolutely coded for the whole year, such as Donald Trump winning the election. There was all kinds of things and media stories that were lined up to Hillary Clinton winning the election, and then Donald Trump out of nowhere wins the election. And there was all kinds of things that were synced up to the Cleveland Indians to win the World Series as well. And I thought the Cubs were still going to win, but there was a lot of interesting things with the Cleveland Indians that year. And then they had made it focused on and made it seem that Zach had picked the Colts and the Vikings to be in the Super Bowl. They really put a lot of emphasis on this. And then they both lost on the same day that Zach's house got crashed into. And they both had the same record. And they both lost with like 25, with the other team scoring 25 points or something to do with the number 25. And then the Super Bowl was all about the number 25. So I'm telling you, they flipped the script. That's the moral of the story. And then we learned this big revelation in regards to gematria. And what I was talking about at the time was all about Jeopardy. I was covering the crap out of this lady who had cancer who died just before a bunch of her episodes had aired. And this lady's name was Cindy Stowell, and in gematria, Cindy Stowell equals 53, and she died on a date numerology of 53. I think it was December 5th. 12 plus 5 plus 20 plus 16 is 53. And she died 16 days before her final episode aired. The 16th prime is 53. And there was all kinds of just random stuff in these episodes where she would get to the final round with like $5,300, and her brother's name was Greg Stowell, that equaled 53, and his wife's name was Juliana Stowell, that equaled 53, and ABC had this interview where they interviewed her family, and they even had on the bottom of the screen that it was 53 degrees, right? And just all the stuff with the number 53 with her, and that's what I covered like crazy. And then I pointed out also that Jeopardy equals 40 and 41, and look at Alex Trebek. Alex Trebek equals 40, just like Jeopardy, and he was also born in the year 1940, and he's the host of Jeopardy. There's just so many things. After this, I discovered how many game show hosts are synced up to the game that they host, such as the guy Ben Glebe, who hosts Idiot Test. Ben Glebe equals 38. Look what Idiot Test equals. Idiot Test equals 38. And believe it or not, this guy actually followed me on Twitter. Let's see here. I had 114 followers on Twitter. If I could find his deal here. It is the real Ben Glebe. Back in the beginning of 2017, I believe it was. He followed me on January 27th, which makes really no sense considering I only had 114 people following me. And, he didn't have hardly any people that he was following at the time. And even when you go look at him now, he only follows 4,000 people. So why is this host of Idiot Test following a little peon like me from Iowa that absolutely has, why is he following me on Twitter? Like, it really doesn't make that much sense. And he was 38 years old when he decided to follow me on Twitter. And, remember his name equals 38? Just like Idiot Test. And he just so happened to follow me 78 days after my birthday, and the word idiot equals 78. And our birthdays just so happen to be 7 months and 8 days apart. Another 78. He was also born in the year 78. And keep in mind, this was all before I even discovered reverse gematria, really. I mean, it's just right at this beginning point of this, awakening of better understanding, right? And, it was right at the beginning of 2017 he followed me. And at the time, I hadn't even looked into all of the other game shows. It was only Jeopardy that I was really covering. And all of this stuff kind of stemmed into me discovering all kinds of stuff. And, I mean, the examples are countless. Like, Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey equals 51, and Family Feud, however you spell feud, 51, right? And, countless examples. Are You Smarter Than the Fifth Grader equals the same as Jeff Foxworthy, and Deal or No Deal equals the same as Howie Mandel's full name, and The Price is Right equals the same as Drew Carey and Bill Cullen, and The Wall equals the same as Christopher Hardwick, and Wayne Brady equals the same as Let's Make a Deal. Newlywed Game equals the same as the host of Newlywed Game. I mean, there was just countless examples. The TV show The Chase, the Beast, his name is 33, right? And The Chase equals 33. And maybe it's not every single game show, but there is a whole bunch of them that are absolutely synced up this way. And I guess the moral of the story that I'm getting at here is that now we've been talking a whole lot about this August 10th and August 11th date and Tisha B'Av, and there's all of these things. I mean, absolutely so many things that are aligned to these dates and pointing to these dates. And Alex Trebek all of a sudden in March announced that he had cancer on March 6th, right? And now we get this other guy in Jeopardy, James Holzhauer, or however you say his name, who is just absolutely just destroying everybody on Jeopardy, right? Reminding us of Ken Jennings and so on. So I guess the moral of the story in this video is I just wonder if all of these things that we were talking about with August 10th, August 11th, the Tisha B'Av, and the third temple, I just wonder if they're just building all of this up and, nothing truly is going to happen except for some type of great awakening, or, we're going to learn something that is going to help us even more at this time, if that makes sense. And yes, I do really believe, and I'm almost positive there are people who are using this in a negative way, but I feel like if you just compare it to what happened before when we really got this big awakening and we learned a lot more about how this system works, it just makes me wonder with how Jeopardy is really important recently with this guy and Alex Trebek. And, I think Alex Trebek might actually die on June 8th, just for this reason. And possibly not, but I don't know very many people who survive from getting pancreas cancer. Usually when you get pancreas cancer, you don't even last very long. And, who knows, maybe he'll live a lot longer. But I'm thinking about guys like Stephen Hawking, who had ALS for like how many years, and most people do not live that long with it. So possibly it's going to be something weird like that, or Magic Johnson, who had HIV. He has HIV supposedly and still kicking, but he got HIV all by the numbers and so on. But the day that they announced Alex Trebek's cancer, if you go to June 8th, it's 94 days, and the word Jeopardy just so happens to equal 94. And June 8th also is 1 month and 22 days before June 8th, or it's 1 month and 22 days before April 17th. And we just got this other story about Alex Trebek signing off for the summer on April 17th, right? But he intends to be back. And Jeopardy also equals 122. And also, June 8th is 44 days before his birthday. And if he dies of cancer, that would be perfect, because cancer equals 44 in gematria, right? And just think about, that's how Cindy Stowell supposedly died too. She died of stage 4 cancer. Alex Trebek currently has stage 4 cancer, so stage 4 even equals 40. Look what Jeopardy equals. Let's look at Jeopardy again here. Jeopardy equals 40. Talk about how it's synced up to 122, 94, and so on. Just like Alex Trebek. So June 8th, an interesting day. A day to watch out for Alex Trebek to possibly die. Look at Ken Jennings. Ken Jennings, 122. Think about it. Jeopardy, 122. Look at Ken Jennings again. Ken Jennings equals 175. Do you know Ken Jennings, the day that he lost on Jeopardy? Let me find it here. I know I just posted about it. Ken Jennings lost on Jeopardy 175 days before his birthday, right? What are the odds? And Ken Jennings equals 175. The lady that he lost to was Nancy Zerg, who equals 50 and also 40. Ken Jennings also equals 50, so the lady that he lost to even equals the same as him, and her name equals 40, just like Jeopardy. So it's just absolutely scripted by a code. I mean, it's just, there's no doubt at all that it is scripted this way. And, it's even more proof. Like, recently we got this guy here, this James Holzhauer, and let's look him up on Wikipedia really quick. Because I haven't really watched that many episodes. I only watched one episode of him, and I need to start recording them and really breaking them down. But look at this guy here. So he makes wagers based on like people's birthdays and stuff like that. So his daughter was born on September, or he got married on September 8th. His daughter was born on November 9th, and let me read it here. I know it talks about it in here somewhere. Do do do. Well, I can't remember where it is now, but he does stuff where like his daughter was born on November 9th of 2014, and he'll make a wager such as like $11,914, for 11,914. And recently he wagered $10,117 on the Daily Double, and then he said Vegas strong. And the reason he did that was because it synced up to the day of the Las Vegas shooting, and he's supposedly a sports bettor who is living in Las Vegas and then going on to, kick butt in all these deals. It's just crazy. So he's even like betting by the numbers, by people's birthdays and whatever else, right? So you know that there's some type of system that is going on. And what else is interesting with this Vegas shooting, if you recall, days before the Vegas shooting, the guy named Terry Neese, who got the perfect showcase on The Price is Right, he reached out to me in regards to my video where I talked about him like 6 months before, and he like reached out to me like crazy, like he wanted to get a hold of me and everything else. And I gave him my phone number and everything, and then he said that he would get a hold of me, and then he never did. If he reached out to me like that, like crazy, you think that you would at least get a hold of me, right? Doesn't make that much sense. And I also had this weird phone call from Nevada, and then the day before the Las Vegas shooting, that guy who was from Las Vegas reached out to me, and then we got the Las Vegas shooting. And it was the time that I was talking about how we should watch out for us around the Jesuit anniversary and so on. And then we got this big Vegas shooting, all synced up by the numbers on 10-1, the route, it was the Harvest 101 festival that was on 10-1, and much, much more, right? It was on Jimmy Carter's birthday, and all kinds of stuff that was synced up to lots of things I was talking about at the time. So, just pointing it out, this guy is all about the numbers. This Vegas shooting is interesting just in regards to that Terry Neese guy, and he was all coded too. Like his niece was on The Price is Right just after he was on there getting the perfect showcase. And his name's Terry Neese, and then his niece got on the show, right? And they wrote a book together that's like 134 pages, and her name equals 134, and I think his name did. I'd have to go back and look at it all, but it's just interesting that this guy's using numbers, and there's something that doesn't make sense with it all, right? This guy's first show on Jeopardy was also on April 4th, 4-4, like cancer, right? Everybody gets some Alex Trebek that has cancer. But 4-4 is also the 94th day of the year, and the word Jeopardy equals 94. And it's 14 years after Ken Jennings had this, awesome streak, and usually streaks end at 14, or a lot of times they do, at least within sports and whatnot, the word end equals 14. And a lot of times you'll see people lose, after 14 or on 14. So it's interesting that it's 14 years later. What I pointed out in this post today about Ken Jennings was this dude, he also today on his 18th, not Ken Jennings, but this James Holzhauer, on his 18th appearance on the show, he only won by $18. It's like they're putting it right in your fucking face. Like, right? I don't get how people don't. This is how I understood Gematria so fast, because I noticed these things over and over for years, and I didn't get why they were doing this. And it's like, what are the odds? His 18th appearance, and then he wins by $18, right? And then when you learn Gematria, you see more of what is going on with the story, right? And when you look these guys up, the guy he almost lost to was Adam Levin, and they have the same name, Gematria, both of 162. And that just makes me think of baseball. This guy that he almost lost to was a sports information director from Massachusetts. And then he's a sports bettor at Las Vegas. So it's something to do with sports. And this 162 number, if you know Gematria, is all about baseball. The word baseball equals 162. MLB 162. Major League Baseball 162. They play 162 regular season games. Also, in regards to winning by $18, the word baseball equals 18, MLB equals 18. So, there's something significant to it. And this guy he almost lost to, he's from Massachusetts. So you think about baseball, then you look up the Red Sox. And I looked at the Red Sox game today, and they beat the Athletics 9-4. Like Jeopardy, right? So it's just absolutely mind-blowing. 9-4. They beat the Oakland Athletics. Think about how they're both involved in sports stuff, too. The Athletics. Think about that with regards to sports. None of these other scores, as far as I can see, are connected to Jeopardy. Only the Boston one, where this Massachusetts guy almost beats the guy on Jeopardy, right? And then he does the whole Vegas Strong thing, which is Vegas Strong equals the same as World Series. So I don't know. There's something important to it. Doesn't necessarily mean the Red Sox or the Athletics are going to win, but there's something important to how it syncs up to whoever does win, and I guarantee it. And I'm reminded of Ken Jennings, too, who won in 2004, and he won just after the Red Sox broke the curse of the Bambino in 2004, right? So, interesting how it syncs up to the Red Sox, who just won the 114th World Series. Also, Ken Jennings' first game was 147 days before the Red Sox won the World Series that year. And World Series equals 147. World Series also equals 150, and this year is the 150th anniversary of professional baseball, which I found interesting. Today's also 155 days before the Vegas shooting, or the anniversary of the Vegas shooting, and this year the Major League Baseball playoffs began on the anniversary of the Vegas shooting. And 155 is interesting because Oakland Athletics equal 155, and they're really important to what we've been talking about with August 10th and August 11th and whatnot, right? And, the Phillies are going to be playing the Giants on them days, and August 11th is going to be a tribute to the 1989 Giants, who were in the World Series with the Oakland Athletics, the same city World Series that had the earthquake in 1989. It was synced up to the movie Field of Dreams, which I know is why the Lion King thing is important, because James Earl Jones is in Field of Dreams, and he's also the voice of Mufasa, who was the Lion King, or, who died before Simba took over. And also, Field of Dreams was really important in 2016, before they flipped all the scripting stuff, right? It was synced up to the Indians, and so on. I was following this Native American theme all year, talking about how it's synced up to Kevin Costner in the area that I live in. Kevin Costner equals 155. And when he takes James Earl Jones to the baseball game in Field of Dreams, he takes them to the Red Sox versus the Oakland Athletics, right? And then he finds out he's got to go to Minnesota to find Moonlight Graham and whatnot. And, it's all synced up to that. That movie was absolutely showing us the same City World Series, because when it shows you Moonlight Graham, it says 1922 or whatever, and in 1922, the Giants played the other New York team in the World Series. So it was the same City World Series. Then later that year, after that movie came out, the Giants played the Oakland Athletics in the same City World Series. So I hope that makes sense. But I know it's connected. I know it's important to that movie, Field of Dreams. Then we had W. P. Kinsella, who wrote the book. Shoeless Joe die in September that year. And then during the World Series time, James Earl Jones' wife died, right? So that World Series was absolutely synced up to the movie Field of Dreams. But James Earl Jones is really important still because of the Lion King theme and how that syncs up to August 10th, which is World Lion Day. And this guy who James Holzhauer almost lost to today, his name in Jewish gematria just happens to equal 810, right? This important day. So hopefully, I'm just rambling. I'm just talking. I could make this a lot. I could organize it a lot better. I just felt like talking tonight, just kind of making a video here. Because I know there's something really important to this Jeopardy theme and this guy doing well on Jeopardy and how it syncs up to all of these things that I keep documenting about all year this year and how it's important to this August 10th date. And it's a pig year and Montegraph threatening Zach, and then the car crashes into his house. And like I said, check out some links in the description, but it's absolutely important. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to talk about in regards to this. I think I'll just leave it there. I made my point, but I just feel like maybe we're going to get, maybe something will still happen on them days. A car did crash into Zach's house, and my uncle died right after all of that happened. Things happened, but it wasn't what it was exactly pointing to and stuff. So I'm just curious to see what happens. I'm curious to see if we're going to learn something a lot more about how all of this system works, and maybe be able to just get this bigger understanding, something that I've wanted for a while. I've felt pretty stuck lately because I follow all of these patterns and I'm just not figuring out, I'm not seeing the bigger picture and so on. So maybe around this time we're going to figure it out. And that's the whole point of this whole video that I'm making. So I'm done rambling. Have a good one. Peace.